Okay, so this week it's Horseshoe, Wisconsin, who flubbed up.
Yeah.
What's funny is everybody thinks Wisconsin has no shot against Ohio State. I think it's going to be a great game. But I want to go to this first, is that there's rumors out there. Harbaugh, Harbaugh.
Inevitable. Right when they lost, by the way, I was like, okay, watch. This is going to be like the NFL. Here we go. Yeah.
So here's the thing. Saban loses to Auburn. Suddenly he's in Austin. Remember that?
Yep.
And Pete Carroll loses a big game. Dolphins are interested. And this happens, right? And so my takeaway is, of course, his name is now out there with the Redskins, with Atlanta. Brian Kelly a couple years ago had a rough loss. Boosters crushed him. His name surfaced.
That's right.
Now, he can deny it, but we know that Harbaugh has been a ladder climber.
Yeah, and there's two things that go on here, Colin. You're exactly right. There's two things that go on here, and that is like, and I'm not suggesting that, I don't know this to be true. I'm just saying in general, two things go on in these situations. One is the people that are representing these coaches are like, oh, okay, you're unhappy with our guy? Let me show you who else is interested. And so they start to float the conversations that they're having behind closed doors, right? That happens. And then here's the other part. There's a lot of names out there. Matt Rule is in conversations all over the NFL right now. He's going to get a chance to interview if he wants. Lincoln Riley, we've debated it on this show. He's going to have a shot. By the way, Ryan Day, who has an NFL background, is probably going to start piquing some people's interest with the way that Ohio State is playing and his hire of Jeff Hafley in the offseason, so on and so forth. So this is not unique to Michigan. It's not unique to Jim Harbaugh. It's just that he's a lightning rod and everyone makes it a bigger deal than it is, and so it's become a story now.
Okay, I was saying this earlier, though. So I grew up and I love Michigan football more than Ohio State because the brand of Michigan, A-plus fight song, A-plus uniforms. I remember as a kid watching them play, and I don't know if they were more ambitious, not only Rose Bowls, but they played some big games. They always played Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Right? So I saw...
Well, schedules in general used to be a lot better. If you look at, some of those schedules of the past, they were so much better in terms of non-conference play. And remember, Colin, the reason is that there were so many independent schools. It wasn't just Penn State. Oh, you remember Penn State. It wasn't just Notre Dame. Penn State, Florida State. There were several schools. Miami, all used to be independent.
So when I was a kid growing up, Michigan was on TV way more in Seattle than Ohio State was.
Oh, okay, yeah, sure.
Okay, so Notre Dame was on TV a lot. An SEC school with Keith Jackson.
Oklahoma was
on TV. And Michigan was on TV more than Ohio State. But their brand... fight song, rivalry, stadium is A+. You start looking at the history of the program. Bo Schembechler.
It's really good.
It's really good.
It's not Ohio State good.
It's not. If you win in the current Big Ten structure, deepest it's ever been, you win 9.5 and win every other bowl game. Bo losing record bowl game. Lloyd losing record bowl game. Jim losing record. We think this is Bama. It's not Bama.
It's interesting that you bring that up. One of the things that I relate college football fans to right now, they're exactly like NBA fans. They're exactly like golf fans. We have been ruined as NBA fans and as golfing. If you're a fan of the golf and PGA Tour like I am, we've been ruined by Tiger Woods. We've been ruined by Michael Jordan and LeBron James because we expect this greatness at clips that are unheard of as far as the consistency of greatness. So Bama and Nick Saban, and to some degree Urban Meyer, by the way, did this. They've kind of ruined the expectation of fan bases. Did you know that if you go through and you actually average out the number of wins each season, Jim Harbaugh averages more wins per season than both Bo Schembechler and Lloyd Carr?
Isn't that funny?
And if you go back through the history of Michigan, and I'm not arguing for Jim Harbaugh. I'm just saying if you put it in perspective,
context,
Michigan, he has returned Michigan to exactly what they have been historically, which is a really good program.
But not Oklahoma. They're not Oklahoma. They're not Ohio State.
And they're not. And to give you some, let me put some numbers on those rather than just stating it, okay? Because I went back. Michigan has won 11 or more games 5 times in their history. Okay, 5 times. Ohio State won 11 or more games every single season under Urban Meyer. That's the last 7 years.
What's Alabama, 30 times?
I mean, Alabama is way up there. Oklahoma is way up there. In fact, Ohio State has won 11 or more games not only in the last 7 years, but 18 times in their history. They've won 12 or more 5 times. Michigan has never won 12 football games.
Thank you.
Or, excuse me, has won 12 football games one time in the national championship.
So their brand is A+. Their
Bo
program's...
Schembechler never won a national championship.
Thank you. 70 years won. Thank you.
And then the last argument that I would make on this whole, like, Jim Harbaugh is, and I understand, I think people's expectations were that he was going to come in and be Nick Saban. And I don't think I ever argued for that. I get a lot of flack. You get a lot of flack.
Yeah.
I mean, like, defenders of Jim Harbaugh. But all I said is he's a really good coach, and this was a home run hire for Michigan, which it has been. He's averaging 9.5 wins per year. I thought they played their best football of the year last week in the second half. Yeah. Having said that, I will just say this. If you look at Tom Osborne, Bobby Bowden, these historically great coaches, guys that you would put in the top 5, 6, 7 all time in the sport. Tom Osborne never won a national championship in his first, 19 years at Michigan?
John Wooden at UCLA. Go check out his first 7 years. When you need 2 players in college basketball. Like we just if you don't win now, you're a bum.
Yeah, you're a bum. And Tom Osborne waited for a long time, and then his last 5 years were incredible. And everyone's thinking like, well, that's what Nebraska was. That's not what Nebraska was. Nebraska was a really good football team.
That exploded.
That exploded late. They had 1 or 2 years there in 82, 83. Other than that, they were 9-3, 10-2 every year.
Yep.
Okay, Osborne never won less than 9 football games. But I think that I go back to the Tiger Woods, Michael Jordan type of thing. Like, we've been ruined by Nick Saban. We think that if we call you a good coach, that means that you've got to achieve on a Saban, Dabo Swinney, Urban Meyer level. That's not the case. I think Harbaugh can be considered one of the best coaches in college football, a guy that returned Michigan to what I would say is prominence within the sport.
They need to beat Michigan State from this point forward.
I think so. And they're going to need to beat Ohio State at some point. But remember, and this is another point, I hope that...
Now go.
Very rarely, if ever, in a really storied rivalry, are both programs great at the same time.
Great point.
Very rarely. I mean very rarely. When Oklahoma's winning consecutive Big 12 titles in a row, what's happening at Texas? They're down. When Alabama is on their crazy run, what's happening at LSU? They're kind of down. Auburn is up and down, right? Every year it's kind of like that. You very rarely get like decades upon decades of 2 programs at the same level for an extended period of time. Even Nebraska and Oklahoma through the 80s. After Nebraska was great, then it was OU that was great. Then Nebraska got good again, and OU took a dip in terms of historical rivalries. We are asking, those of you that want to bash Jim Harbaugh, we're asking him to put Michigan in a spot that they've never been in their history during an era in which Ohio State is achieving at its highest clip in its history. It's almost inconceivable to ask Jim Harbaugh to compete better than Ohio State or for a national championship while Ohio State is on their current run. Like I said, more than 11 victories in 7 straight seasons. So it's just food for thought when you're talking about comparing Jim Harbaugh to other coaches out there and what is his spot within college football right now.
Got to be honest, Klatt. One of your better performances on this show. A lot of it's just nonsense. Today you brought your A game. Let's go to your top 10. Okay, I got Leonard Fournette last hour.
Oh, man.
I mean, a lot of times it's just me putting a stop sign up for 15 minutes with you. This week, and just a yield sign. Slow down.
You're the crossing guard?
That's right.
I want to see Colin with one of those neon vests happen outside of the elementary. And it's like, wait, kids. Wait, kids. Wait to cross. Okay. All right, now go ahead.
Here's your top 10. Ohio, I don't disagree with this. Ohio State, LSU, Bama, Oklahoma, Penn State. I got to ask you this.
Oh, yeah.
You got Clemson low, but that's okay. This whole thing with Tua. Like him. I got now 3 injuries. He's not getting 6 seconds in the pocket in the NFL. He's mobile, but he's not Lamar Jackson. Joey did this about a year ago. I'm going to pump the brakes a little on Tua.
Okay. From an NFL standpoint, you're saying.
Yeah. Now, Alabama's going to be fine. I'm starting to pump the brakes on Tua a little bit. I think I made a mistake. I'm like, there's some Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's never hurt.
We'll see. I mean, we'll see. I think Tua is an extraordinary player.
Okay.
He really is. I don't know if he is a generational NFL talent.
Thank you.
I think that in any given draft, he would be considered somewhere from the number 1 quarterback in the draft to the number 4 quarterback in the draft. And by the way, as I'm talking with GMs and people within the draft community
20 seconds.
starting for this next season, their quarterbacks are all over the place. So if Tua doesn't get healthy, not only is Alabama going to lose to LSU, but his draft stock might get hurt and he might fall to the third or fourth spot in the draft order.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.